let's talk about some of the things that you've seen change since you started the podcast, since you started it, right around when Oregon's recreational program was getting going. And a lot of that program itself has changed, and the players in the industry have changed. So can you comment of kind of what you were noticing in the early days and what you're noticing now, and how things have evolved and what stands out to you?
A lot of it is every change the OLCC or the industry has happened to it, it really ripples through everything else. And those changes really follow through. When we first started going on these dispensary tours and stuff, these places were, just a small little shop. You had to go to the front desk and sign in or show your ID, and then you had to wait, and they'd help you one at a time. It was kind of like still really, it just seemed like it was almost still black market.
Right.
And then like we went to this one dispensary where we went into a lobby to wait for our turn because they only helped one person at a time. This is in 2015. And they had an Xbox in the waiting room, which is cool. But when we finally got to go in, which was after 10 or 15 minutes, it felt like a doctor's appointment. And once we got in, they had like 4 or 5 kinds of flower, and then they had one concentrate.
Wow.
And it was about the color of real dark tree sap.
Interesting. Yeah.
It looked about like tree sap. And he pulls it out and he says, hey, you want this? Because we'd asked about the concentrates. And he says, okay, let me go back here. And he goes back in the back and he comes out front and he says, this is what we got. And I go, that's it? He says, yeah. He says, you want it? I'm like, no, I don't want it. So we left there, and it was just really not shady. It just seemed really just still blacky marky. And, but immediately, places started popping up and things started getting a little bit more professional. But everything was still, just seemed like almost homemade, if you will. And, when we got back here after the tours and stuff, we hooked up with Talent Health Club. And back then, my co-host, Lady Sativa, she wasn't working there. But we were going to events there, meeting farms and collecting interviews that way, and watching Talent Health Club grow. And it's just now this industry has turned into this, there's dispensaries everywhere. Packaging is crazy. I mean, you see everything from plastic looking chew cans to Ziploc bags to things that look like food that aren't. And it's just turned into this mass market thing. And it used to be small farms. Now they've turned into more corporate. It's just a huge change. It's a huge booming industry. And the thing about it that's good about that is that it has really brought a lot to the economy. Yeah. Our job growth and our economy is just, we don't seem to be having any problems funding things right now.
Right. And this area that we live in here in Southern Oregon, I can't remember what the rates of growth are, but they're extremely high. And there's like not enough housing can be built to accommodate the influx of people that want to move here and live here. And, there are different reasons for that, but the cannabis industry is one big reason for that. That's drawing a lot of people, and even people that aren't necessarily involved directly in the cannabis industry, but ancillary businesses that end up getting a lot of business from the cannabis industry that now have this new revenue stream coming up, construction, plumbing, electricians, all sorts of different things like that. I moved out here just 6 years ago, and the changes I've just seen in that 6 years is incredible, just as far as the population growth and the economic change. Because when I moved out here, Southern Oregon was struggling quite a bit economically. And I mean, in a way, it still is, because it's a rural area. It's kind of disconnected from the rest of Oregon, and it's disconnected from California. It's just kind of this strange little pocket here. But that definitely seems to have turned around quite a lot, especially over the past 4 years. So that's great to see. And that's one of the arguments used in a lot of states to try to push legalization. And economically stressed areas. It's like, here's a whole industry that's just waiting to be birthed. If we can figure out how to regulate it.
Yeah, ultimately, it's going to be the biggest motivating factor for states that are resistant. But it's good and bad, but the good is really good. We're getting people that didn't have jobs, or, people that maybe wouldn't even want jobs, or actually, getting out there and working. And it's creating a lot of economy, like you said, not just for people in the industry, but look at BIC. They were already doing good over the years because of us anyway. And then another bump, or, raw paper, or even zigzags. There's a whole, plastic, the plastic that they use on these hemp fields.
Right. I
think of all these other outlets, packaging companies. Not that that's good, because we're having an issue with that,
right.
With
the waste.
Yeah, big waste, which needs to be dealt with. But it still, we're coming up with people, for packaging and just different outlets. And it goes in levels. Like a farm might have a trim service, or now it's bookkeeping. And
I've noticed there are all sorts of spin-off companies, and companies that started out trying to be totally vertically integrated that have realized maybe it's better to specialize on a very, very, very specific part of the production process and get really good at that, and then offer that service to other people. And it'd be really interesting to see how that continues to evolve. The trim services, like just a couple years ago, I noticed that those started really becoming prominent. These trucks that could just pull up to a grow. You open up the back, inside the truck is just tables and, all the equipment and everything they need. I'll have people just sitting in there all lined up, trimming everything, just being fed from the farmer's material that's coming off the lines that's just recently dried, and, just busting that out really quick for you. And so you can move on to trying to get things into the store.